How do we know that a new vaccine is safe and that it will protect us from disease? Before any vaccine can be distributed to the public, it must first be tested using the clinical trial process. A clinical trial is a research study that evaluates how a specific vaccine, medication, procedure, medical device, or other medical treatment works in humans. Clinical trials are essential for the advancement of science and medicine. These studies prevent ineffective or unsafe vaccines from being distributed to the public. The Food and Drug Administration, also known as the FDA, has been regulating the process of new drug production since 1938. The FDA is responsible for protecting the public by ensuring that food, as well as any medical treatments, are safe. Before a clinical trial takes place, a team of scientists and doctors must make a request to the FDA to begin human testing of a new product. This request is called an IND application, which stands for Investigational New Drug. In this application, the team must explain their current research findings, like the results of animal testing, and any vaccine effects they observed during previous testing. If the FDA finds any issues in the application, the products being tested will be placed on a clinical hold. The research team of scientists and doctors may need to do more experiments, review their data, and rewrite before starting the application process over and submitting a new IND. If the FDA approves this application and determines the product is safe to proceed, the research team can begin the first stages of the clinical trial process. There are different ways to set up a clinical trial. If the vaccine is completely new, the vaccine will be tested against a placebo during a clinical trial. A placebo is a substance meant to have zero effect on those who receive it and contains everything but the active ingredient. This will allow the research team to determine if the vaccine has any effects compared to not giving any treatment. When a vaccine already exists for a certain condition, the new vaccine is compared to the existing vaccine rather than to a placebo. This allows the research team to determine if the new vaccine works better than the old vaccine. Conducting a clinical trial would be impossible without the help of participants. A participant is someone who agrees to take part in a study. Scientists and doctors explain what the purpose of the study is, what they can expect to happen, and any potential risks and benefits to potential participants. This process is called informed consent. In a clinical trial, everyone who decides to participate in a study is always a volunteer, and participation is never forced. A participant can choose to leave a clinical trial at any time if they want to, even after the trial has started. A research team recruits participants for clinical trials through a variety of different methods. Flyers are often posted in healthcare buildings, like hospitals and doctors' offices, or ads can be posted on social media. The method and location of advertisements are chosen carefully to target potential participants with specific characteristics, like age group, or those who are at risk of the target disease. After participants are recruited, the study activities can begin. The clinical trial process has 3 total phases. In Phase 1, the vaccine is given to a small group of participants, about 1 to 100 healthy adults. In this phase, the research team primarily looks at the safety of the vaccine. If these study participants report any severe negative side effects, the clinical trial process is stopped immediately. In this phase, the research team is also working to determine the proper dosage required to create an effective immune response. The dose is the actual amount of vaccine someone receives. In Phase 2, the primary focus is to determine the effectiveness of the vaccine. If the vaccine is effective, it will boost the body's immune response when it is faced with its target pathogen, protecting the body from developing the illness. The research team then tests the vaccine in a larger group of a few hundred people within the target population. This means the vaccine is tested in those it was intended for. For example, a vaccine meant to prevent cancers prevalent in females will be tested in adult women during this stage. Just as during Phase 1, the research team wants to ensure the vaccine does not cause any serious adverse side effects. They closely monitor the participants, and if any serious negative side effects are seen, the clinical trial process stops. Phase 3 is the final phase a vaccine must go through before it can be approved and made available to the public. This is the largest phase of testing, in which the vaccine is given to thousands of people. Here, the new vaccine is compared to either an existing treatment or a placebo to determine which is more effective. Once Phase 3 is complete, the research team must again gain approval from the FDA to allow the vaccine to be manufactured and administered to the general public. The FDA examines the data collected from the 3 phases of the clinical trial and determines if the data shows that the vaccine is effective at preventing or lessening disease, that it is safe for humans, and that the benefits of taking the vaccine outweigh any potential risks. If the vaccine meets the FDA's requirements, permission is granted to the manufacturer to start producing the vaccine. The clinical trial process does not immediately end after the vaccine goes into production. During manufacturing, the FDA will continue to monitor the vaccine to ensure it remains safe, free from impurities, and that it matches the exact formula that was originally approved. To do this, the FDA will test vials from every batch produced to ensure that each time the vaccine solution is made, safety checks are in place. At this point, the vaccine can be distributed to hospitals, pharmacies, doctors' offices, and other healthcare centers. Even after distribution, the vaccine will still be monitored by the FDA to watch for any changes in safety or efficacy. They will also be watching to determine if any new or long-term side effects result from the vaccine. If any issues arise, the vaccine is removed from public use and no longer distributed. At the conclusion of a clinical trial, all participants are informed of what treatment group they were in. That way, if a participant only received a placebo but would still like to receive the vaccine, they can. Or vice versa, if a participant did receive the new vaccine, they will be notified so they do not receive the same vaccine twice. While we specifically focused on vaccines in this video, the clinical trial process is necessary for all new medications and medical devices for humans. It makes sure new vaccines are both safe and effective for humans. The clinical trial process reminds us that significant testing must be done before any new vaccine or medication can be given to the public.